Is your business protected against the threat of malicious litigation and frivolous lawsuits? Are you sinking company profits into marketing campaigns that do nothing to contribute to the growth of your business? Bottled Business Sense provides practical business perspectives that uniquely emphasize both legal and media marketing strategies to protect and ensure the longevity of your business. And whether you're trying to provide a startup business with some level of stability or an established business with foolproof asset and estate protection, or simply attempting to get a better return for your business marketing dollars, Bill Bernard and Rick Moscoso will expose potential pitfalls to ensure the security and growth of your business, free from unwanted expense and the threat of litigation. You'll learn how to implement marketing and protection tools equal to those used by today's most successful corporations. Let's join Bill and Rick for today's Bottled Business Sense show.
Good morning, everyone. Today is Tuesday here at 10 a.m. on the Bottled Business Sense Show. I'm Rick Moscoso, one of your co-hosts. We have Bill Bernard on the other side. And welcome again to the new year. It's the first month of 2020. We want to welcome all of our past listeners and all of our new listeners. You can find us certainly on social media all over the place at Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Of course, if you're watching us via the website, you've come to bottledbusinesssenseshow.com, and you can see our complete library here of previous shows from business and marketing perspectives, business law, and all kinds of law that Bill does, and marketing perspectives. And they're all categorized nicely for you, so you can peruse our library there, or just go ahead and look at our library directly on YouTube. So with that, today Bill is going to speak on what is a successor trustee, and let's welcome Bill to the show.
Yeah, hey Rick, thanks, appreciate it, and hope everyone is doing well. You know, we've had a show or two, I think, some years back on successor trustees. It's worth talking a little bit more in depth about not only what is a successor trustee, but then what does a successor trustee have to do? Remember that a successor trustee of a living trust steps in to take over the trust and administer the trust after the last remaining trustor or settlor passes away. So let's say you have a husband and wife. They're the settlors of the trust. They create the trust. They're also the trustors of the trust. Means the same thing as settlors. You're sometimes called a settlor, you're sometimes called a trustor. Those are the people that create the trust for their benefit. And in this instance, we're talking about a revocable trust. The successor trustee steps in at a later time. So let's say the wife passes away. The husband now becomes the sole trustee. Once the husband passes away, the successor trustee steps in to administer the estate to the beneficiaries that are remaining. And those beneficiaries are called contingent beneficiaries because their receipt of the assets in the trust is contingent upon the passing of the last trustor or settlor. So a successor trustee owes a very high duty to the beneficiaries. They owe a fiduciary duty to make sure that the contingent beneficiaries are going to be treated in a fair and equitable manner. And there are 20 steps that I've outlined that a successor trustee must do when the very last settlor passes away. And I think it would behoove you to write these down. We'll go through them very briefly, and I'll add a couple of lines to each one. The first thing is, you must review the trust and the pour-over will thoroughly. If you're not familiar with these documents, it's going to be very difficult for you to administer the trust, right? And when I talk about a pour-over will, I'm talking about a will that goes with a living trust, not a will that stands alone by itself. Those things are no good. A pour-over trust allows assets that you forget to put in the trust to pour over into the trust. So you need to review the will and the trust to make sure you understand what assets are inside it and who gets what assets. Number two, you must order death certificates Okay, so you want to be familiar with the healthcare directives that go with the trust package. Number 2, you must order death certificates or a certificate for the last remaining trustor that passes away. And you can do that through various facilities through the county that you reside in. Number 3, you must notify Social Security if the individual was receiving Social Security at the time he or she passed away, right? You got to stop the Social Security payments. You can't continue to receive those. Number 4, you must cancel all pension plan benefits. So if somebody was working and they received a pension plan, they have to have the pension plan canceled. You can't continue to receive pension checks from various governmental facilities. For example, if you're passed away, you're going to have to notify the appropriate agency so that the death benefit, if it still exists, is payable to a specific beneficiary. Number 5, you have to identify life insurance policies and annuities and make sure that those assets are passed on to the designated beneficiaries, okay? If the decedent's IRA named the trust as a beneficiary instead of someone else, then you have to make sure that the IRA custodian is promptly notified and provided with the details of the trust so that the transfer of those assets can be given to the trust. And you must make sure as well that if the deceased trustor was was contributing to the IRA and didn't contribute the maximum benefit before he or she passed away, you want to make sure that those distributions, that those maximum benefits are provided, and you must make sure that the minimum distributions are taken. If it's an IRA that requires a minimum distribution by an individual, you want to make sure that that minimum distribution is taken by the beneficiary before the end of that taxable year. Number 6, you want to obtain a tax identification number for the trust, and you want to use IRS form SS4. Number 7, you want to secure the settler's home. You want to make sure all of the personal furnishings are collected and secured so that they can be distributed accordingly. Number 8, you must notify trust beneficiaries and heirs as required by law and make sure that they have some anticipated distribution date. I would make sure you wait at least 120 days before you distribute any assets to the beneficiaries in order to avert any kind of a trust challenge. Should somebody want to challenge the trust, you want to make sure the assets are still there, and in order to make sure all creditors are paid. Number 9, you should file the original will with the Superior Court clerk, because pursuant to the probate code that should be on file, the will that's done with the trust. Number 10, determine what assets are on hand by locating bank accounts, securities, real estate, vehicles, safe deposit boxes. Make sure you inventory all assets. Number 11, determine what ongoing bills will have to be paid and what funds are available to pay them, because those creditors have to be paid before a distribution to the asset to the beneficiaries can occur. Number 12, establish date of death values for trust securities. So for stocks, bonds, mutual funds, for tax purposes, working hand in hand with your tax accountant or tax preparer, you're going to want to have to determine what the present day value, the date of death value, I beg your pardon, is, so you can determine what tax, if any, is owed by way of the value of those assets when they're dispersed to the beneficiaries. So you're going to want to review the investment portfolio that the trustor has with the appropriate advisor, if there is one. Otherwise, you go to step number 13, which is hiring an advisor, a CPA, an investment advisor, an appraiser, an attorney. Number 13, hire the appropriate individual professional that you think you may need if you're having a problem by the time you get to step 12. Step 14, determine whether there will be a need to probate. Do you have assets that exist that are not inside of the trust? You may be able to do a short probate if it's under $150,000, or you may be able to use the pour over will to transfer those assets into the existing living trust. Number 15, obtain written appraisals for any real estate and business interests held in the trust, so you know what their value is for purposes of perhaps selling them and splitting up the assets, the money between beneficiaries. Number 16, you must record an affidavit of death of the trustee, together with a certified copy of the death certificate for each piece of real property held in the trust. So for each piece of real property held in the trust, you record an affidavit of death of the trustee, which needs to be prepared by you. It's a one-page document, or by an attorney. And you file that in conjunction with a certified copy of the death certificate that you got for each piece of property that is owned by the deceased and that is in the trust. Make sure that when you order the certificate of death that we talked about a little earlier, you order about 15, 20 copies. That's what I typically order. Never hurts to have extra copies on hand. Number 17, for each California property, prepare a death of real property owner form, a preliminary change of ownership report, and if appropriate, a claim for exclusion from reassessment of taxes if there's a transfer between parents and children. And file these with the county recorder and assessor's office in the county where the property is located within 150 days from the date of death of the settlor. So, California property only. Death of real property owner form, preliminary change of ownership, and if it's between family members, a claim for exclusion for tax reassessment if it's a transfer between parents and children. You file these with the tax assessor's office or the county recorder's office within 150 days of the death of the settlor. That's step number 17. Number 18, please make sure you cancel all credit cards and close all credit accounts. Don't leave those things open. Number 19, verify and pay valid debts of the deceased settlor. What I mean by this is specifically medical bills. You may have some insurance policies in existence that you need to cancel, but they may be able to pay existing medical bills. So for those insurance policies, you want to wait 2 months, wait 60 days, and make sure that they have enough time to see and pay any medical claims that are still outstanding. And finally, number 20, make sure you do this, folks. Arrange for final tax returns to be filed. You have to file a final estate return and a final personal return. So make sure you hire the appropriate tax specialist who can do that, because not all CPAs, folks, can do estate returns. And I don't mean that in a degrading way. I mean that's a lot of them will admit to you, I don't do estate returns, and so you may need to hire 2 accountants. If you're comfortable working with one for personal returns, you may need to go outside and hire another one for an estate return, because some of them only do estate returns. So remember those 20 steps, and there's a posting of this on avvo.com under my profile. You can go and see the various steps that a successor trustee needs to go through once the last trustor dies or settlor dies, and you can see it in a little more detail there, and you can understand really what a successor trustee is, because he steps in and administers the trust, sometimes in conjunction with other professionals and sometimes not. Sometimes the successor trustee is a professional of some sort. But that needs to occur, and it needs to be understood by the people who undertake this fiduciary duty, because it's extremely important. So I hope that helps everybody out.
All right. A lot of steps to consider, folks. But if you do have any questions, please reach out to Bill. His information is below. Hey, Bill, let me ask you this. You referred to the Avo link. Can we get
Yeah.
that and post it for our viewers?
Let's-
Directly? Maybe just send that to me
Yeah,
offline.
you know what? I will send that to you, and then you can put the link underneath. As a matter of fact, yeah, I have the link right here. So after the show, I'll go ahead and send it to you.
Yeah, and then folks, we'll put that below this video so you can see all 20 steps.
Yeah, underneath on that website, you're actually going to see 22 steps. Okay. But I combined a couple of them into making it an easy 20 steps because as I reviewed it, I figured, there's really no need to separate out the other two. I mean, you can, and there's no harm, no foul if you do. But I've talked about 20 steps here. When you go to the site, you'll actually see 22 steps, and it'll be very straightforward. It's not confusing at all, so don't worry about that.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thanks again, Bill, for the detailed topic. That was awesome. Folks, again, reach out to Bill if you have any general questions in regards to the show today. His information is below this video. If you'd like to see past episodes on different topics that we've done, both on marketing and in law, go ahead to our YouTube channel at Bottle Business Sense Show, and you'll find our complete library there. If you want to see them sorted, then come back to our website at bottlebusinessshow.com, and you can see them all sorted there on the website. You can also find us on social media on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and all the other resources.
Yeah, there's one other thing I want to mention too, Rick. I understand some of this stuff, folks, is kind of dry at times. I'm not auditioning for a TV reality show, and neither is Rick, and we're not trying to make it as actors in Hollywood. We're here to provide information. Every once in a while, we'll try to make it as lively as we can, but this is important stuff, and let's face it, unless you're a lawyer and you're really into this stuff, it's not something that you're excited to sit down and listen to. You'd rather go watch, the Marvel movies and or something else. I understand all that, but we're here to provide you with this information. We try to do it short and succinctly, so you don't have to sit here for an hour. So bear with us, and it's your attitude. Get into this stuff if you can. Understand that it's something that's going to help you out and perhaps save you a lot of money in the long run. And if you look at it that way, I think it's a lot easier to get through and a lot more exciting. So I appreciate your patience in that regard.
Yeah, that's great. Bill, I'm going to give myself a little plug here, if you don't mind.
Mm-hmm.
For those of
Please
you
do.
who have been around for a while, you can see behind me the set looks a little bit different than in the past, and I've had a lot of requests to help people with their online appearance, both when they're just video blogging, intermittently on Facebook or to the YouTube channel, as well as doing live streams on a consistent basis. And so if you need help, or if you're new to this and you think that'll benefit your business to be on air on a consistent basis, talk about the business that you love or the business that you do, or even a hobby that you want to promote, then I'm gonna in an episode here in the next month or so, I'm gonna give you the basics on how to set up your own in-home studio, what tools you'll need, what software you might need, and different levels of look to help you produce something similar to this. I'm only about halfway through the set design, but we're going to see something here develop in the next couple of weeks, and then we'll share that with you as we broadcast more shows. So I'm really looking forward to sharing that information with you. There's just been a ton of questions in regards to live streaming, how to do it, and all the mechanics and things things you need to do to prepare so you look professional, you look credible, and of course it's everything to help your following and increase the traffic that's coming to your website. So just wanted to mention that. I'm really excited to be able to share that with you. That's
great, Rick. I didn't know anything about it, but I'm excited about it. I can't wait for the show. And Rick's the guy to listen to about this stuff. So if you want to go ahead and I worked with him a lot, and I've never regretted it. So please, folks, listen in and be aware of when this show is coming up, and we'll try to give you a heads up on it, and we'll tackle it together. I might even be amazed at what I see Rick do, because I thought I've seen about everything now, but you never know. He comes up with these ideas. So that's something to look forward to. Thanks, Rick.
Yeah, you're welcome. You never know. So
that's right.
Anyway, folks, thanks for joining us on today's episode of the Bottle Business Sense Show. We'll see you again in a couple of weeks. And in the meantime, be prosperous, be safe, have fun out there, and we will see you on the next episode.
Take care, everybody.